everybody's going, oh, no, that can't be true. No, it's so spiritual. And I say, yeah, go to Glassdoor. Go to look at change.org. Look at what their real staff is writing. Go ask the people that are doing their TV shows how they feel about it. Oh, wait, they just quit. So in the beginning of the gem drops, once I wrote back to them and I said, I need proof that you are who you say you are. Now, they say 14 or more people are writing. I don't know who it is, but I know that it made me curious enough, so I wrote them back and I said, prove that you are really on the inside and tell me, all these years, who's hacking me and how? This is not about me. I didn't write it. I'm not responsible for any of the slander, even though I just learned that the Gaia people have placed an 18-page slander suit against me in Boulder, Colorado. So I started getting calls from a lot of news media saying, we want to hear your side of the story. I said, what story? They said, you don't know? Know what? Gaia just hit you with an 18-page horrible lawsuit. And so I read it, and it was basically one page repeated 18 times, but they were stating all of the things that were in David Wilcock's letter that I repeated, and that the Gem Drops wrote that I repeated, and also that Glassdoor employees wrote that I repeated. So, as a documentary filmmaker and a public speaker, I do have a legal right, with the Sullivan decision, in America, to tell the truth and not be hit with slander. Now, the truth is, I don't know who Jem is. The truth is, I don't know if David's letter was real or if he just wanted to do some big promo piece. I don't know. What I know is I read it after 34 gem drops came to me. So I'd write them back and I'd say little things, and then they'd send me these huge gem drops. And they were very, very Q-like, kind of cryptic. And so now that it's going public, the public is wasting their energy. Instead of looking at what the documents are saying and what the staff is screaming, help us, help us. We're all under NDA. We just got an NDA reminder now that Gem has gone public, and now there's cameras in every corner of every room. There's microphones, even outside in the gardens. They said our computers are being watched. They're reporting that everything they do is being monitored as an employee of this corporation, and they don't like it. So it goes more and more public, and it starts to explode because the things they're writing are really damning to the corporation. It's not even about money. I think it's about control. And then when you're so into control, it's about power. But if you don't feel powerful enough, you're going to have to step on the people that are powerful, that make you feel uncomfortable. And I think that's what's going on now, and it is the women that definitely were moved out of the field. Because we look pretty on stage and we tell the truth. That is not what they want. They want their obeying boys who will say what they tell them to say. And I'm not going to name names because I feel bad for all the actors. And I'm sorry if I don't call them researchers and stunning, eloquent masters. That was 10 years ago we had real masters of ufology. Now, I think we're dealing with a lot of people that read a lot of books and who knows what's real, who knows what isn't. But if you're not an actual experiencer, I'm really not interested in your third party information. What caused Gaia probably to not like my films enough to hide them this deep was that I didn't have any misinformation. My films were all filmed in the crop circles, and my 8th movie, Crop Circle Diaries, showed the science. Undoubtable. We know that we can save the food supply. So when I met with David Wilcock accidentally at a restaurant, we spent 7 hours. Once we started talking, we realized, you know things I don't. I know things you don't. So I said to David, my big question is, why did they change their name? From Gaiam to Gaia. Why would anybody spend that kind of money to change their name when they're all so established? And he looked me in the face and he said, well, the branding lady said gay I am is bad for your reputation. David, don't mess with me. I mean, I was just like instantly thinking he was pulling my leg. And I said, no, 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 no. If I'm going to give you data, you give me real data. Why did they change their name? He said, the branding lady told them that gay I am is bad for your reputation. And he had a straight face, and I was thinking, really? My name is Patty Greer. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm going to tell you straight up that I am a filmmaker with no training. I went to the crop circles in 2006, made my first film in 2007, another one in 2008, and in the course of 10 years I made 8 films. And it wasn't because I did the research on crop circles, thank God, because there wasn't really any good research 10 years ago on crop circles. It was a lot of misinformation mixed in with a few good bits, but the whole UFO field and secret space has been slowly infiltrated over the last bunch of years, and we've gone from having incredible integrity and fantastic speakers, lecturers, knowledgeable ufologists, and most of them are gone now, and they died kind of quickly. This incredible upper layer of 4-star generals, Wendell Stevens, Bob Dean is still with us, I believe, Jim Mars. I mean, we had really great ufologists that came from a place of knowing rather than reading other people's material. And I think that's where I fit in with them, is that I didn't know anything about crop circles. I went over there to heal from mercury poisoning, and I lay down in a crop circle. Next thing I knew, I kept laying in crop circles. So I spent 10 years, about 9 weeks every summer, going to England and being in the crop circles the first few years. And what was interesting is my very first film, because I was green and I didn't have a brain full of misinformation and lies, my very first film, at the end, there was that little voice that came in, and I listened. When I completed my first film, which was called The Wake-Up Call, anybody listening? I had an intuitive voice that I followed the leads to, and I found a binary code between the 2 balls of light that lay down a crop circle at Oliver's Castle in southern England. The epicenter is Wiltshire, England. And in my very first movie, I found the science. And I didn't know any misinformation, so I was wide open. And so I finished the film showing this communication between 2 spinning plasma fields, laying down a crop circle in seconds, but right before they laid it down, there was a binary code between the 2 balls of light. Now, I thought this was going to be the greatest discovery for all the crappies, but still today, hardly anybody's willing to acknowledge it. My third film, it won the Best Feature Film at the International UFO Congress Convention, which was huge. I had no idea that I could start rating with the big boys and girls of UFO filmmaking. And then my fourth movie, the very next year, Crop Circle Update, The Wake-Up Call, won Best UFO Feature Film of the Year, again, since last year. And I'm only bringing these up because it's a very important part of the story that even though I never will claim to be a great filmmaker, I do know how to tell a story once I've watched it happen with my own eyes. And that's what my movies are about. I filmed almost all my movies in the crop circles, and I only interviewed people that I really resonated with as true crappies, which means they're there every day like I am, laying in the fields, not talking, being quiet, perhaps communicating with the earth or other dimensionals. But I don't talk aliens and UFOs and, flying purple people eaters. I don't go into that because I never saw it. And I don't need to make stuff up. I have seen so many remarkable crop circles. I've had experiences in the crop circles that will last the rest of my life. So for me, I win. I got to go in the crop circles. I mean, it's been really amazing. But once I started making these films, I started seeing the resistance to the truth about crop circles, UFOs, secret space, start to block all of the speakers. All of the events became infiltrated. And now it's the same speakers over and over every year doing the same stories, and there's nothing new, there's nothing fresh, and there's certainly nothing enlightening in the recent events that have been infiltrated and very controlled by those that don't want the data getting out. Now, why would crop circles be a threat? Bottom line, I finished my 8th film and I learned the real science had been done and proven in the lab of William Levengood in the 1980s. What we're seeing in the fields is one thing. There's a pictogram that's telling us a story. But when you walk in the crop circle and the hair stands up on your arms and you're chilled head to toe, that's another whole story, which is your body is taking on a different frequency. And once you go in a real crop circle, which I do believe most of the ones I went in were real, nobody's going to tell you otherwise. Once you have a sighting, I don't care how many people say, oh, there's no UFOs, it's all fake. If you've seen it, then you're just going to be polite to those people or punch them in the eye. But, you know, years ago, I used to try and convince people about the reality of crop circles. And now when people show that immediate block, I just say, well, there you go. And I find something else to do. I don't need to force feed anybody anything, but what I wanted to do is just tell you how fun it was to make the films, to be in the fields, to meet the real crappies, to tour through Glastonbury, to go to Stonehenge and all these other sacred sites. So the movies came out, and I continued to win awards, and after my fourth film took Best Film, second year in a row, all of a sudden I got distributor offers. And what I want to do now is, because this is going to get heavy, I want to read a brief disclaimer. I am protected by the First Amendment as a USA public speaker and additionally as a well-known internet reporter. I am protected by the Sullivan decision, where truth is a defense. I have not been making statements in malice about the Gaia company personally. Hard factual evidence is available, as well as documentation from numerous other witnesses and victims that have gone through similar incidents that I have. So recently, I got pretty loud because the distributors that chose to distribute my films in, I think it was 2011, signed an exclusive rights distribution offer deal with me. So for 10 years, the Gaia TV group was going to get my movies on Netflix and Amazon and Vimeo and all over, everywhere, and they were going to go everywhere. That was the promise. So the first quarter, it was fantastic. Oh my God, we had, I think it was $16,000 worth of sales, and you know, for a brand new filmmaker, that was kind of cool. And the royalty man said, you're going to get a check for $6,000. Good start. The check came and it was $1,250. So I started to question what happened between the truth and this small check that I got. So the second quarter, same thing happened. Really good sales. I'm all over the place. It's super exciting. And the royalty guy is a new guy. And so I asked him for an itemized statement when the check I got was only this big. So he sent me an itemized statement and it was not okay. So I started asking the management to please treat me with a little bit of respect financially, because, you know, you're my exclusive rights distributors. So now we've got the first 2 quarters, maybe 3, and the distribution of finances was extremely disappointing. So I started talking with them about it, and all of a sudden, behind closed doors, I got a letter from one of their guys, Sam Tolles, that said, you are being rude and disrespectful about your money coming in, so I've told the entire staff not to talk to you. Nobody's going to talk to you ever again except me, Sam. So I was like, wow, that's not very nice, but I want to talk. Nope. And now I'm getting the lockjaw on talking to anybody there that can help me maybe get a proper payment or whatever. The relationship went from sour to rotten instantly, and my movies that were in all of their catalogs selling really well. I think every month or other month they gave me another order for a dozen or more movies, and so it was really nice. It was like not only the public platforms, but also they had a catalog and Gaia TV. So my movies are on Gaia TV and people are streaming them there and buying the films in their little catalog store. And as soon as I made them upset with me for complaining about the lost wages that appeared to me as lost wages, they decided that the way, and I'm guessing, to get me to stop complaining about lost wages would be to have no wages. I'm guessing that that's what they did because they pulled me out of their catalog. Gone. All 4 movies disappeared from their catalog. And then they pulled me from the Gaia TV platform. Gone. No distribution, pulled from the platform, pulled from their catalogs, because I pointed out that we had an agreement, but it doesn't appear to be working financially, so they fixed it. And now I am 7 or 8 years later, zero income for many years. So we're at a 0 point, and all of a sudden I realize I really need to get rid of these guys. So in 2015, at the end of the year, I hired Pat Friscogna, who's the only lawyer in history that ever won a UFO case in court. And he won it for John Burroughs, who was in the Rendlesham case, a very big case. Pat and John won. This was huge. So now I'm at the International UFO Congress. I'm backstage with them. And now we're at our table where we can talk. And I asked Pat if he'd be willing to take on another case and help me get rid of Gaia. So he looked at all the data and he said, sure, you need help. Worst contract I've ever seen. You signed this? I mean, everybody that looked at it said, this is so blatantly a suppression deal. I mean, yeah. So anyway, it went from bad to worse, and finally at the end of 2015, I decided to make them an offer to get rid of them. And what I needed to do in the contract was to pay back the $10,000, which, had they treated me like they treat David and Corey, would have been 2 months, 6 months most, to get $10,000 in fees to me to pay off what they gave me up front so I could start making money. Here we are now 8 years later, and I still haven't worked off the 10 grand because they hid my films. What a great idea. Hide her films, don't have to pay her, keep her stuck for 10 years in a suppression deal that says exclusive rights distribution. These are the facts. And in this video, I'm only going to tell you the truth because for some reason, everybody's really misinformed. How are you going to make money if they hide your work? So, to me, it's obvious what's going on, but I wanted to be done with it. So I made them the offer of $2,000 to go away, and I also included a statement that said, and stop hacking me. Because there were people selling, there's 135 storefronts that were selling my movies on Amazon in 7 countries. Some of them had 8 movies, products. Some of them had 2, some had 4, Italy, Spain. They just splattered my movies illegally. Somebody, I don't know who at that time, was doing this to my work on Amazon, Vimeo, and then hitting me with fake copyright claims on YouTube, hoping that 3 of them would stick, and then they could take me off YouTube. So what is this enemy force trying to hide real crop circle films? Or is it because I'm a woman? Or is it because I tell the truth? I don't know. I frankly don't care. So now I make them the offer, and Pat Friscogna, great lawyer, writes it all out, $2,000, go away, leave her alone, and stop hacking. They wrote back, and you have to sign this gag order, about that long. You can never say anything about us, what we're doing, what you've seen, And it also even said, you cannot come back and sue us for anything you learn down the road. Like, when it all comes out, what we're really doing, you can't come back then. So I look at this gag order and I'm thinking, wow, that is one insecure piece of writing. And I told my lawyer, there's no way. So here I am. Is it worth giving them $2 grand to be continuously hacked and to sign a gag order and never be able to tell the truth about what they're doing and who they are? So I told my lawyer, thank you so much for your time. How much do I owe you? I wrote him a check. We're done. And I told Gaia, take care. Enjoy the movies in your freezer. And it doesn't matter because they're available on my website. They're available on Amazon if you can find me. So now, as soon as I turned down that offer, in December 2015. 2016 was a record year for hacking. Oh my God, my $20 movies were on Amazon for $750.64 each. $20 movies on page 1 for years, and now they're $750.64 each. Why? To get me off page 1. Why? To get people to go, who would buy that? Patty Greer, slam. So now I'm seeing them for $63 to $750. by companies that have no permission to sell them. Nobody has wholesale rights to my films, and still today, which is August 2018, they're still for sale in Europe, in 7 countries, my movies, by illegal, dishonest people. In America, I spent the hundreds of hours and wrote the hundreds of letters to get Amazon to work with me. But clearly, there's people backstage at Amazon that are infiltrating its legal department, its copyright department. You can't get help. And you can't get help if you're honest, because for some reason, they're letting these companies sell things that they don't have. Like what? They're going to buy it from me and then, whatever. It was just really to get me off Amazon. So then somebody writes me an email and says, "What's wrong with your Vimeo?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Go look." And now my $4 Vimeo rentals are $651.34 each. There is a clue that we've got pennies in all of these numbers. So now I've got, oh God, Amazon, Vimeo, damn, they're infiltrated. Now YouTube. Oh my gosh, how many? 5, 6, 7 fake copyright claims. I write my own music, I own it, and I'm getting copyright claims on my music and my movies. And I know it's fake, and I know it's infiltrated, and I don't have enemies. And the movies are really clean and good and won a lot of awards. But for some reason, somebody doesn't want my crop circle movies to be seen, because then people will know that crop circles are real. The important thing about knowing crop circles are real is that they have the ability, the science of making crop circles naturally from the center of the earth or from the mother. They come out of the earth in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma. This is what we discovered in the lab of William Levengood and Penny Kelly. We know they're real. We know they're throwing the wheat with electromagnetism. And we know that there's a lot of energy and a variety of different frequencies that are laying the fields down. We know that they're coming out of the earth, so they have earth energies. We know that almost every crop circle is sitting over an aquifer of water. So we have the resonance of the water. Plus, as the message comes up and goes through the water, the message goes out into the waterways of the world. I mean, it's a beautiful plan. Sometimes, as they dissected the different frequencies of the crop circles, they found that there was an element of human consciousness. And sure enough, in my films, I have 3 different instances where people were looking at something, praying for something, a confirmation, and it showed up in a crop circle within a day or 2. This is where we have the human element added to the earth, water, human consciousness. So now we've got these 3 things, and then all of a sudden we've got some of these formations that are planetary grids with information like missing Pluto was, one of the big ones. And everybody's going, Nibiru. And so we're using the education of the message as well as the technology to improve the food supply. Crop circles are really important. And to be honest, the research center in Wiltshire, owned by a woman now for the last couple of years, this year, she flew back to England 2 weeks after she had been there, checked all of her stuff for the research center. It was all sitting nice in the closet. When she came back to open, the entire research center had been stolen out of the closet. They stole the projector, the videos, everything. Huge, gorgeous pictures of crop circles from Steve Alexander. Fantastic, beautiful crop circle images that are just huge. They stole it. For what? So she writes me, Monique, and she says, "I can't believe it. This is so hard." And I said, "Hey, do you want to do it or not?" She said, "Absolutely, better than ever." And I said, "Great. I'm going to bring you on all the shows that I do." So I called all my hosts, and all of them said yes. So we got Monique on a bunch of shows, and she got donations. And the woman opened. And it was more beautiful than ever. Oh my gosh, the research center. I mean, she just ups it every time. What did the little chumps do? The very first day, somebody went in and stole all the signs to the research center. Both ways coming in. They just went and stole the signs. Now, who's there that's as bad as who's here? Or is it just an agreement that crop circles, with the people that know what they are, cannot be exposed? So anyway, luckily for me, I really had no interest in other people's research once I hit my first crop circle. It was so stunning, so fabulous, and my movies just happened quickly. So now I'm moving into realizing that there's no distribution in America for UFO films that hasn't been destroyed. Number one, no truth. Number two, no women. That's for sure. So here I am, even though it's no truth, no women. I've won a lot of awards, 5 at the International UFO Congress, but now I'm watching Jay Weidner do these blatherings on public media that I'm a terrible filmmaker. It was just redundant, ridiculous, trying to make me look like the reason my films didn't sell at Gaia was because they were bad quality. Well, they wouldn't have won all those awards if they were. And I had 6 when they got my films taken away. So after these years, I tried lawyers. I think I had 5 different lawyers to try and see if there's anybody there we could reason with, but I'm not going to sign a gag order, and I'm not going to give them money to hack me if they're the ones doing it. So I kind of just got disgusted and decided, screw it, I'll just go speak at the events. So now I became a public speaker. In the last 5-6 years, I was speaking at all the UFO events as the crop circle girl. And the crowds were amazing. It was so fun to be able to share 300 photos of crop circles. I think that they speak so much for themselves that when I did the stage shows or the speaking talks, I would show up with tons and tons of crop circle photos because it's not about the words, it's about the image. It's about the magic and the wonder. And all of it works together, but the bottom line is this can save the food supply. This is so important. Why are they destroying the intelligence here and in England? It's like everything is working against humanity because everything is coming to the surface to be healed. That is my true belief. I heard it 20 years ago from Patricia Cota-Robles. I still believe it today. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now, but we are in the peak of the filth and grime rising to the surface to be healed. So here I am. Now I'm a speaker at all these events, and all of a sudden, it gets bad. There's people coming with directed energy weapons. And I got hit. I got hit bad. And I got hit in 2016 on the David Wilcock panel twice. And I got up and left the stage. I was furious, and I got hit. Luckily, it didn't take me out, but it threw me for a loop. And then, the following year, they world premiered my final film, Crop Circle Diaries. That was huge for me. There were thousands of people. It was beautiful. Everybody's there, of all the top people. And so we showed the film, and I sold tons and tons of them. And then I went home after the event, and I was fine. But the following year, 2017, last year, I was all of a sudden on the posters for the event, but nobody called me, asked me, invited me, no contract. So I thought, what is this? Hi, am I speaking at your event this year? And the girl said, oh, yeah, of course. And I said, were you going to write me and ask me or invite me or send me a contract? So all of a sudden, it felt really squirrely with this event. And they didn't feel the same. And so the last couple years that I went, there's these booths that sell crystals and all kinds of things. And then over there by itself is this big white tent for Gaia, right by the stage of where all the big shows happen. And then everybody else is over there with Scientology. Oh yeah, Scientology is usually at their events. So funny thing is nobody notices except me because I'm looking. And I'm like, wow, Scientology again. Isn't that perfect? So now people are starting to realize that something's going on with the energy here. And look at all the speakers. They're all Gaia speakers. And so 2 months before the event, I actually got a call in 2017 where the woman that ran it said to me, I'm 3 speakers over. I can't have you speak this year. Sorry. Be glad that I called you instead of wrote an email. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. I lived through getting hit on stage. I'm willing to come back. I filled the place. I did my world premiere. And you're going to choose me to fire? Oh, I know why. because you are working for the corporation hiding my films. So I let it go. 2 weeks later, I was at the International UFO Congress, and they whispered to me, "You won Best Feature Film of the Year. Get your speech ready." And I was like, oh, God. And all these people are coming up to my table and saying, "Can't wait to see you speak at Contact in the Desert next month." And I said, "Oh, no, not doing it. They fired me." 5, 10, 15 people. I was like, nope, they fired me. I won't be there. But I'm sure there'll be somebody else you'll want to see. And I kind of snort and chuckle because it's totally different now. So anyway, after 10 or 15 people said to me, "Oh, I'm really sorry," I decided I'd call the gig again. Because tomorrow night I'm going to win Best Film and I'm going to be on stage in front of thousands of people. So I called them up and I said, "I just want to make double whammy sure that I'm not going to be speaking at your gig because I'm going to be on stage tomorrow winning Best Feature Film for the movie I presented at your event. But I don't want to say that I'm going to be speaking there next month to 2,000 people if I'm not." I have to tell them I was fired. "I'm sorry, Patty." "Yeah," she said, "you're not speaking." "Okay, take care." I actually had 2 bodyguards. I looked left and I looked right and I said, "How many minutes?" And I left the cell phone on the table. It was 4. 4 minutes, they called back. "Okay, you can speak." I was like, "Excuse me?" And it was her sweet girl, Crystal. They said, "You can speak." And I was like, is that really like an invitation for me? Are they going to pay me more than the last 2 years? "Well, no, and actually you can't bring a friend this year. And we don't have room for you on the campus." Really? Controlled much? So what? Now you have to disrespect me and not pay me more and not give me a room on campus. Where am I going to sleep? And no guest? That's not going to work for me. You're not going to pay me less. It's already small enough. The little money you give me barely covers my flight, but I do tons of movie sales, so it's fine. So she said, "Patty, I'm sorry, it's the best I can do. We can put you up down the road. You can bring a guest." So we show up, and it was the slimiest hotel with the worst smelling Indian incense, like they hadn't opened the windows for weeks. It was horrible. So we get there and took a laugh, left our stuff, and went to the event. Now I pick up a schedule. In the previous 2 years, when they were respectful before they weren't controlled and infiltrated, she knew that I don't do mornings. So I had looked at the schedule, and they put me on Sunday morning at 7:30 in the big room. Now, in my opinion, it would seem like Sunday morning at 7:30, the first thing is to say, "Yeah, we really want you to speak." So I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe they're doing this. And but they did. And the night before was the big speaker party that everybody was invited to by Jimmy Church and his wife, except me. So Sunday morning, I get to the room, and it's this huge room. And it was freezing cold. And the 2 sound men were wrapped in serape blankets. And I walked in, I'm looking around like, why is it so cold? And the 2 of them shook their head and both said, "Management told us to take it to the bottom." So they dropped it down to 50 degrees. And the whole night froze the room out so that when I got there, it would be really, really cold and unappealing, and people probably wouldn't want to stay. So I said to one of the sound men, they were adorable, "James, do you have any funk music?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, your cue is going to be, 'Hit it, James!' And when I say that, you blow it up at 8, and when I do this, 'James!' you pop it up to 10. So people are filing in. I couldn't believe how many people showed up at 7:30 in the morning. It was a party, but everybody's in shorts and little tank tops and they're friggin' freezing. The room is ridiculous. So I said, "Thank you all for coming, and we're going to fix this problem. Everybody on your feet. James, hit it!" And the music started, and we danced around the entire room. I think we circled it twice, and everybody's moving, and there's people in their walkers, and they're pushing their walkers, but everybody got moving. We heated up the room probably 15 degrees in one song, and everybody's blood was pumping, so everybody stayed awake. It was a really fun talk, but it was that something inside me that went, man, I'm dealing with chumps. I am dealing with such bullies that they would pull this many stupid moves. Oh well, their problem. Finish the gig, walk outside, and go to my table. And I had a line around the block. I sold out all my full collection sets, Crop Circle Ecstasy, everything I've ever done in one box, half price. And everybody wanted autographs. So I think what I learned there was that the people saw me dealing with a really low frequency of consciousness in a very graceful way. I just took it and I said, let's warm this room ourselves. Let's ignore what they tried to do. Let's ignore that it's 7:30 in the morning and all of us are a little tired. And thank you all for coming. So it was an amazing day. And now this line finally thins down. And now I see the head of this corporation at the booth in front of me. But he wasn't at the booth. He walked behind the booth so he could face me and fold his arms like this, to which made me feel really uncomfortable because I'm not sure what he's got against me, but I know he's got a problem with me and my films and my honesty and my integrity. So I started to get uncomfortable when he was standing there like this for 15, 20 minutes. So I said to my friend, we need to move this bus. So she hops up because she's the camera girl for a lot of the UFO events. And she walks up to him in Mr. Night Vision goggles, and she took a photo. And the tall guy that owns the corporation hiding my films leaned in and said, you delete that photo right now. She said, I beg your pardon? I take photos at these events. He said, delete that photo right now. She said, if you have a booth or a ticket, I can take your photo. I think you have a booth over there, sir. So he grabbed her name tag and pulled her forward. She's not a small woman, and it hurt her neck. He pulled so hard. Read her name, and then he looked at her and he took his finger and he did this to her. And he said, if you don't delete that photo, I will destroy this man and he will never work in the field again. And now there's 6 booths around going, what's going on with that creepy guy? Why is he yelling at her? And then she yelled, get your effing finger off my heart chakra or I will bite it off. So now there's all kinds of people taking photos of this guy and the night vision guy and the girl that was just taking photos. It turned out that he was hiring the night vision guy for the Ancient Aliens cruise. My friend Brad Olson comes up to me about an hour later and he says, I have a message I have to give you. And I was like, what? He said, it's from the tall guy that owns the corporation. He wanted me to tell you better back off because you pissed him off having your friend take his photo. And I was like, I didn't ever take his photo. I just said energetically, let's move the guy so he's not standing there like this too close to me. I don't feel safe. So Brad gave me the warning. I don't know how it happened, but a day and a half later when I got to the airport, I checked in and my body hit the floor. And I was paralyzed, completely paralyzed at the Phoenix airport. I knew instantly that something had happened with some kind of a directed energy weapon. I'm not going to say I know who did it, but I will say that somebody really doesn't want me doing this work. I got hit so bad that I'm still healing a year later. This is not a small deal. And every now and then I'll see a really dumb journalist do this, directed energy weapons. Patty thinks she's so important. It's like, important? I got hurt, really hurt. And when I got back to Denver, I needed a wheelchair again. He wheeled me down to baggage claim, and I thought, I'll get up and get out to the car. I hit the floor again. So whatever was done to me was very intentional to give me the message. It wasn't very nice. So I started realizing we've got a real problem now, and so now I'm reading about energy weapons. And so I put it out on YouTube one day. Did anybody else get hit at that desert event or any other UFO event? Boom, 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 the letters are coming in. I think I have 30 people that got hit and really hurt. And now people are starting to write me about all the spiritual schools and the mystery schools being bought up and destroyed. And so now that I'm going public, I'm getting unbelievable letters from people who have experiences with this company. And they want to talk because they haven't been able to feel the freedom until somebody silly like me came out and just said it to the public. I got hit with a weapon. I'm hurting like hell. And if anybody else did talk to me, and it's so sad how many innocent people have been hurt in the last few years at UFO conferences. I'm talking about it to protect you and your children and your friends and the frickin' field of ufology that's been destroyed.